All right, Ryan, let's talk some transfers here because whenever Oregon adds a player in the portal, the internet goes insane. You know, every kid has gotten $7 million to come and play for one season, and he was contacted no earlier than the previous team's second game of the year, which is against every rule ever, and something else illegal also happened in there, right? So when Oregon has gone to the transfer portal in the last couple of cycles, though, and I've talked about this before here on the show, there is not a 100% hit rate of impact guys. Not everyone transfers over and then is automatically a start. Most of them are, but trying to search through the weeds a little bit and figure out, well, who's making an impact, who's just kind of there. It's not easy. It's not easy because you can easily see a world where it goes this way or it goes that way. But I want to start with Malik Benson, and the reason I highlight him as a transfer that might not have a huge impact this year is he's coming into a stupidly talented room. It's not proven, it's not veteran, but I don't question that he can on any given day be the fifth most talented guy in that room. If DeCorian Moore pops, like I take Evan Stewart over Malik Benson. He's far more proven at the power forward level. DeCorian Moore could pop and be better. Justice Lowe's a really talented guy. You still have Jurion Dickey, Jeremiah McClellan, Kyler Casper in there. Like, he could get way down, and Gary Bryant Jr., or he could be the second or third best receiver. What do you think?
I agree. I think that it's all about the room you find yourself in. I also think there's a new thing the Ducks are doing with like the alien spaceship where they just bring the thing down into the laser beam. They just take the kid right out of the school that they're in, over to Eugene, tractor laser beam it right back down into the HTC. No, I think it's, portal's changing. There's so many more kids now in it. It's I don't know. I wouldn't say it's being diluted, but it feels like it's being utilized now at a rate that was never before utilized. You're never going to get 100% success rate. You can't. I think Dan Lanning hits pretty good numbers on it so far. Him and the team do a really good job. And I think Marshall Malkow is one of the main guys on that because he's one of those guys who's identifying pieces to the puzzle. And that's why it feels like sometimes it happens so quickly. It's because these guys have already been identified. They're already on the big board. And as soon as they have their opportunity, it's laser beam central. They send the alien spaceship over there and they, do that whole thing. And the idea to me is that whatever room a guy finds himself in is going to be how successful they're going to be. You look at a guy like Tez Johnson, right? Had immediate success when he came out here. I mean, right out of the gate. I mean, set records. And it's just an unbelievable situation. So, you look at a guy like him, and if you're a wide receiver, say, well, I can do that. I can be one of these guys who's an impact player on day one. And I think anybody who's in the transfer portal has that mindset of, I'm going to go be that explosive player. But you're right. I think that if you think about who the guys are that could maybe, not hit huge number, of snaps at least. It could be that room because of there's so many guys in the wide receiver room. I would also say on the defensive side, you had two cornerbacks join this class, and I don't know what you're going to get with those cornerbacks. I don't know if you're going to maybe see one go to safety or move around a little bit because, again, those guys are kind of versatile. But, a lot of people were kind of talking about how maybe that there's going to be a little bit of a battle there between those two corners. So, again, the guy who I'm hoping is going to be a big hit is Bear Alexander. I think everybody wants the big defensive lineman to be the guy. And I think everybody's kind of seen the track record from Bear and said, hey, can he be the guy who we think he is? And I would love to see that be the guy for Oregon this year to really blow up. I think both starting offensive tackles will play. I think they'll fill the gaps very quickly. I don't think anybody who's going to come in as a transfer portal guy is going to come to sit. But I do think there's going to be some competition to be able to get some of those spots, like you said, with some of the guys who are already here.
Yeah, I think that interior D-line unit is one of the most important things for Oregon to have success with in 2025 on that side of the ball, because if you didn't ever fully appreciate how good Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell were, I think Oregon fans did. Those two guys were Ryan, among the best D-tackle tandems Oregon has had roll through in the past, really in my life,
Probably
because
since Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner.
but here's the thing, Defoe played outside.
I mean, he did, but I'm just saying on the level of like what those two dudes stood up a lot of lines. And what happened during their time? They went to the national championship.
Yeah, of course. And I think DeForest Buckner is like Jordan Birch, primarily plays as an edge, but can line up on the interior as well, at least in their college careers. I think Defoe's done that in the NFL as well. Eric Armstead, by the way, Walter Payton Man of the Year. How about that in the NFL? So that's awesome.
I've seen DeForest Buckner go back into coverage.
Yeah. You don't see that. You don't see that very often. I've also seen Jordan Birch return a fake punt all the way down the field. That's the clip that always flies around on Twitter anytime someone talks about his draft profile is, hey, look, this guy is 6'5", 290, and he moves like a running back.
Remember they did the same thing the year before with Casey Rogers, because Casey Rogers' dad had that exact same play and wheeled off the same big 60-yard run. They're like, dang, this guy's athletic.
Yeah, but the difference was that, Birch kind of had to make a guy miss. He kind of juked him and stiff-armed him
right out of the gate. No, Casey Rogers was absolutely as open as you could.
Yeah, wide open. You or I maybe could have run through that hole. Yeah. But Birch had to make a move.
Birch had to juke a guy.
It was awesome. But again, going back to the DTs, I'm glad you brought up Bear Alexander, because kind of a wild card on the defensive line. He was at USC and then had a good year in 23, and then in 24, played a couple games, decided I don't want to be here. And look, from the outside, if I were a fan of a different program, maybe USC's, I'd say Oregon tampered with this kid. Look at what happened.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe. Newsflash. Everyone
tampers. But it
tampers.
also felt like USC was a freaking tire fire during half the year. There's a bunch of things happening there.
Yeah,
I agree. And I also think that there was also with any of these transfer portals, there's already previous relationships built years before. They were recruiting these guys out of high school. There's already been these conversations that are had. These guys reach out to the coaches just as much. So it's one and the same.
Yeah. Well, Lanning recruited Alexander when he was the DC at Georgia, and he was coming out in the class of 22. So that's been, a relationship that is well founded at this point. But Alexander hasn't had a year where he's hit his full potential. No. But Oregon's defense will take a major step back if he and Amari Washington are not at least 80% of the production you got from Caldwell and Harmon. I mean, I don't think anyone can be Harmon, at least not right now. I think Washington could be that good in 26 maybe. Maybe he takes that step forward this year. But Harmon was, it's just, he's going to get drafted in the first round for a reason. But those two guys are so important. I think your edge production, you lose Birch, that's a loss. But Purchase is back in the fold. Tuioti's there. Mateo, another step forward. I feel more secure about what the floor looks like on that unit. But for the interior of the defensive line, I don't feel quite as confident.
No, young guys are going to be playing in the middle.
Yeah, 100%.
You just and anytime you have young guys in the middle in the line, it's susceptible, man. I mean, you don't know. You could have a breakout year. You could have a big year. You could have, guys play well like their freshman, like Jordan Scott. We didn't know what we were going to get out of him, right? But
he was awesome.
Yeah, dude. I mean, his freshman year blew up. I thought almost like his freshman year was his best year. So you never know. I hope that what Bear gets from the U of O is some stability behind his position group, not only, but also the fact that he can come in and be a leader and guys can gravitate toward him a little bit. He's got good personality. So I just think the main objective for the Ducks this year is that we got to see that Dan Lanning offense or Dan Lanning defense in full swing. That the idea that you need to put a lot of pressure on a quarterback, be able to still stop everything up the front, and be one of the best defenses in this conference. I think if you're one of the best defenses in the conference, even with an average to better than average offense that you'll have, which I'm assuming you'll have at Oregon, I think you'll be right in the window.